Let's cut right to the chase, shall we? Pokemon is releasing a Fire Red and Leaf Green version of the GBA games on the Nintendo Switch. By the time you are seeing this video, it's probably only a couple days away, where you can just go to the Nintendo eShop and buy a $20 Pokemon game, the very first game that ever came out for Pokemon, Pokemon Red or Pokemon Green. These are remastered versions technically from their initial games release. They added some different textures. There were just some differences between the two that make this the definitive version of those initial games. It also will just be better on the Nintendo Switch. You can take it anywhere, anytime, dock it to your TV, which is something you could never do before. This is the first time that Fire Red and Leaf Green have been re-released ever. This is the first time ever in the history of those games, of the very first games. Pokemon is now 30 years old, and we will be able to experience these very first games for the first time. And honestly, this might be the first Pokemon game I play. If there's any Pokemon game I am willing to support and just get my feet wet in that actual franchise for the first time, it will be those initial games. It will be the ones that we know are unadulterated, that aren't changed, and something I can't really get mad at because the graphics themselves aren't anything to like make fun of. There's nothing wrong here other than the price point. $20 for both of these games if you want both of them. Now, the games themselves are the exact same. If you know Pokemon, you understand how this works. The only differences between these two, I believe, are just the types of Pokemon. There are like 20 different types of Pokemon in each game that you can only get in those games, and they don't even carry over in terms of save data. So the only reason you would want to get both of them is if you were a collector or something weird like that. Like, there's no reason to get both. They've always just done that because collectors will go out and get both, and then all of a sudden, people who play the one game might want to go and buy the other one. They just have always done that from day one. But of course, the controversy here is $20 because the Pokemon community cannot help but throw themselves into a pit of fire every single time we get a new game. Whether good or bad, everyone here has an opinion, and it's usually negative and it's usually bad, and you're horrible for buying any sort of product. Like, what are we talking about here? It's video games. This video is the exact opposite of my Pokemon Legends ZA video, in which I said I am not at all buying that game, and I gave all of my reasons as to why, all of the price point issues there, all of the graphical issues, the reasoning I gave with that. But with Pokemon Red and Green, I think I am probably going to buy it. This video is about me saying $20 is not a big price point. It's not. You are paying $20 for a game that you can play infinitely, pretty much. Do all sorts of Nuzlockes, do all sorts of different things with it. Pokemon is so popular, you can play it over and over and over again. It's the initial style. It's the only time we've ever had these games ever, and that's only $20 a pop. Apparently, there were big rumors going around that this was actually going to be about $30, and so for us to only have it at $20 is really good. I mean, how in the world are we throwing a fit over $20 for these games? Pokemon is all sorts of evil. I really do believe that. Game Freak has had so many budget issues. The company will not give them more money than they should, and it's just ridiculous. They don't get enough funding for these developers that are actually quite talented. If you see some of Game Freak's other works, they have so many great things, so many great developers. It's not a big deal to just give them more money, but Game Freak, the upper-ups, the Pokemon Company people, I don't know who is making these decisions to not give them enough funding, to not make their budgets larger. Maybe this is something where they're like, okay, we can get as much money out of a cheap product as possible because we know people will buy it. I don't know what they're trying to do here. I don't know why they cannot seem to get this funding in order, but they need to get it in order fast. And we see here with the potential Gen 10, with the Pokemon Presents coming in a couple days from this video's release, that generation might end up being the best one yet in terms of graphical fidelity and just them finally catching up to the modern era. Now we see here on the Nintendo Switch 2, Pokemon can change. We can actually get something different. And here we are, complaining about the easiest success that Pokemon could do. The easiest thing that they could have done to make us happy was give us these initial games for the first time in ever. Technically, they remade these games back with Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, but those were completely different because it was kind of styled after the Let's Go games, after the actual Pokemon phone game. The style was completely different from the actual game itself, and you could only play with a singular controller. There was no options. Now you can finally take it anywhere you want to go and play with ease, and it has those original graphics. It has that original charm, something that really draws me to it, because these are the games. These are the games that made people so invested in Pokemon. This is what spurred on the line of games to come after it, and all of these 8-bit, 16-bit graphics that really charm people. It led to all sorts of anime and manga and movies and merchandise and everything to make Pokemon the number one, yes, number one franchise in the entire world. We're talking more than anything Disney owns. We're talking more than anything Fox owns. Like, anything that you can think of is not bigger than Pokemon in terms of profit, in terms of gross. How can we complain about $20? Like, if you want to complain about it, okay, go ahead, do your own thing there, buddy. Have your cake and eat it too, I guess. But the Pokemon Company has done so many worse things than this. They have done so many crazy, greedy microtransactions that you never cared about, that no one has ever decided to go out and rage and make a big fit about. But here we see these games are finally coming back for the first time. We get to see them for $20 and play them, and yet we're finally not happy about this. These games are finally here and we're not happy about it. Just because a game is old doesn't make it invaluable. We're acting like these games should be $2 because of emulation, and that's where this really starts to get icky here, is that people are saying, why would I pay 20 bucks when I could just emulate these games on my phone? The problem is they're finally making it accessible to you. The only reason that emulation and piracy were any sort of conversation topic about the past games were because of history and preservation of these games. These games are finally being preserved, and you're not doing anything about it. If you are the person that was out there complaining about this, that are hating on other people for even considering buying this game, for hating on the company, for hating on all of this stuff, and yet you will sit there and emulate these games, you are the problem. I mean, what do you expect them to charge for these games? $5? $10? $15? Like, what is too much and what is too little here? Why is this a big deal? $20 is literally the equivalent of like half a tank of gas. Obviously that will depend on the type of car you have and what size tank you have, but if we're really going to boil it down, if you go to McDonald's and you get yourself a Big Mac meal and you get yourself some fries, a drink, that's going to cost you anywhere from like $5 to $10, right? So if you do that and it's somehow on the cheaper side and it's somewhere closer to $5 if you were only able to get water and whatever, then that's 4 McDonald's trips that you're having here, in which you can spend literally dozens upon dozens of hours of fun in. This pricing debacle is getting really weird in terms of Nintendo and Switch 2 editions. Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition just shadow dropped yesterday, and it gave us $5 to just upgrade it from 4K to 60 FPS. And now we see that is not a big deal. And now we see moving forward that Switch 2 editions could literally mean anything. It used to mean if you had a Switch 2 edition that you were getting new content, that you were getting some sort of new anything. And then Animal Crossing New Horizons came along the early part of this year, gave us a megaphone, gave us a couple different things that were exclusive to the Switch 2, like that mouse functionality with moving around stuff in your house. Then that was charging $5 for that, plus the graphics. And everything in the past, anything the Switch 2 edition had ever given us, was meaning more content added in alongside of the graphics. We had free graphical updates for a lot of other games the second the Switch 2 released, and those were just for the graphics themselves. Apparently there is some kind of difference, and this would make sense from Monolith's side to say like, okay, the free upgrades actually didn't change the code themselves, it just took the Switch 1 code and then upscaled it or made it different to where it was up to 4K, but it wasn't like native, it wasn't actually running from the Switch 2 hardware. Switch 2 editions apparently have a different type of code, where Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition can now run at its fullest capabilities on the Switch 2 itself. So yeah, that price point does kind of make sense in my opinion if they actually did go the extra lengths to change all of this stuff and make it even better. If a free upgrade actually wasn't going to give us this high quality, I am more than happy to give them $5. That's a pack of gum to actually help out this company that really does care about the consumer. This studio specifically, Monolith Soft, cares so much about their fans and gives them so much. People were complaining about that yesterday, and now we see here today, $20. We're complaining about 20 bucks. Like, where does it end? When do we just get a life? No one complains about Amiibo hardly anymore. To get like a $20 Amiibo, that's the standard price point, by the way, for all of those old figures. The Smash Brothers figures, like the Mario one. This Mario figure is about a decade old, and it is $20 if you go on the Nintendo eShop. You have to pay $20 to get this figure. Are you trying to tell me that this is more worth it than Pokemon Red? How about this really cool Rosalina and Luma figure with both of them here? Are you telling me that this is worth more money than that? It's a whole game that you're paying the exact amount for with this Amiibo. It's the same. It's actually the same. And no one complained about $20 figures, but now we're complaining about $20 games? One of the comparisons that I saw here that just drove me up a wall was Silksong being $20 and now Pokemon Red and Green being $20. You cannot compare those games. They are not comparable. Listen, I love Hollow Knight. I love Hollow Knight Silksong. Those are two of my favorite games that have ever been made. Those brands have skyrocketed. Team Cherry has reached insane heights in terms of popularity, but the branding is totally different. Hollow Knight may be incredible. It may be an indie darling. It may be a brand that most people will recognize, most hardcore gamers will know. But if you are comparing it to Pokemon, it doesn't even stand next to it. You can't even see Hollow Knight's dent it's not even a dent. It's like barely a little scratch. Like it's like a fingerprint compared to Pokemon and the absurd amount of width and breadth that this company has. There is so much going on with Pokemon here that you honestly have to have a certain amount of entry fee for simply playing a Pokemon game. Like I said earlier, we're almost lucky that this isn't $30. And if you don't want to buy it, this is my call to you. This is my plea to you to say, don't buy it. Just don't buy it. I'm not here to convince you to buy or not to buy. What I am having a big problem with here, and what I'm really talking about, is why do people think that it is okay to go into people's DMs, to go on Twitter and at people, or just spew all of this hatred and say that people are ridiculous and that are dumb, and they call them horrible things simply for wanting to buy these games. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's people who don't have any joy themselves and want to bring misery to other people. It just drives me insane to see all of these people trying to hate on something that literally at the end of the day doesn't mean a thing. It's Pokemon. It's video games. Pokemon fans, let's have a heart-to-heart here. This Charizard figure is $20, and I know I did this comparison earlier, but are you trying to tell me, the haters who are watching this video that may or may not know what I'm talking about, are you telling me that this figure is worth more than the actual game that this character comes from? Or this Pokemon trainer that is actually representative of the very first Pokemon game? I think this is kind of Ash, maybe. I don't know who this is specifically. It's just a embodiment of an avatar probably, but these guys, like, how are we going to sit here and say that it's equal or less than? Now, I understand that products are made differently. Obviously, these plastic figures do take a lot more to actually process and go through and have to worry about shipping and all that, all the fees that come with making something physical, versus this just simply being a digital release, which isn't something I have seen of, but I am probably certain that there are people out there that are upset that there is no physical edition of these games, which, you know what? Fair. I can honestly see how that would make some people upset to say that, yeah, I want Pokemon Fire Red and Green Leaf. I want both of those to be on my Switch 2 or my Switch physically, especially considering that these are like really big pieces of history here. Like, that's probably one of the biggest reasons I'm going to get this. I am definitely buying this, is because it's the first Pokemon games ever. If you want Pokemon history, if you want anything to do with this franchise whatsoever and to find out why it got so popular like I really do, this is the one for you. This is the way to get in. $20 is nothing. I've got a review coming out very soon on Mario Tennis Fever, and Mario Tennis Fever is a phenomenal game, and it was $70, and I saw less backlash to that price point than I do see with $20 here for red and green, and that is just simply absurd. It's nothing but absurd. So yes, I am buying these games. These are going to be my very first Pokemon games ever, and I will finally understand why this series is so popular, why this series is the way it is today, and find out what is going on with that core formula. That core formula seems so interesting to me. I love the idea of taking these creatures and using them in turn-based combat. I can't wait to get into it, and now I can finally do that. Thank you, Game Freak, for actually taking your anniversary seriously, because here we are, 30th anniversary. You're probably going to get a bunch of cool stuff at the Pokemon Presents. It took you 30 years, but you built up a giant of a conglomerate. One way or another, these games are going to sell, and they're going to sell very well. So make sure you are not on the wrong side of history here or get caught up in all of this just to make people feel worse about themselves. And just remember here, this is kind of a PSA to people who might be a little bit younger. If you are younger, I want you to think about your actions and think about what you are putting on the internet, because that junk doesn't go away. Whatever you say is there forever. You have a digital footprint, and people will know. If you are trying to get a job in like 5-10 years from now, people will pull that up and say that, yeah, you are pretty despicable for saying these horrible things about video games. People are not going to want to hire you, and you're going to have a really hard time with that track record. I'm a big proponent of positivity, of loving people more than hating people, okay? There is a time and place to be upset and to be angry and to mourn and all that, but there is more of a time to be happy and joyful and excited for one another than there is for the alternative. When it comes to Fire Red, when it comes to Leaf Green, let's take a step back, let's take a deep breath, let's say it's only $20, and if you don't want to buy both games or either, don't do it. If you want to, go ahead. If I go out to the store and I decide to buy a certain type of soap and not a different type of soap, and it's like $3 extra because I think that brand looks a little bit better, you're not going to criticize me for that, are you? So why are we doing that with video games just because we act like we know everything when we don't? Be kind to one another, okay? Can we do that for a freaking second? Can we be kind to one another? Oh, Pokemon, it will never cease to ruffle my feathers. So that was my video covering all of this Pokemon nonsense, what's going on with that. I'm sure the Pokemon Presents will have something equally as interesting. I really do hope that those leaks are true because those new Gen 10 Pokemon games did look pretty enticing. But if you agree with me or disagree with me, please leave a comment down below telling me all of your thoughts about the situation. Am I crazy? Do I not know what's going on? Is the context going above my head? Like, tell me your thoughts on this and I will engage with you down below. Make sure you like this video if you did enjoy today's content. Click that subscribe button to join the channel. Click the notification button as well to know exactly when videos just like this release. Please consider joining my membership program, just a few bucks a month, to help support me as a content creator and support the channel at large. If you want to know why I did not buy Pokemon Legends ZA, click on the left side of your screen where I break down all of that nonsense, and click on the right side of your screen to see my recent video covering Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and the potential re-release that we're getting of that. I talk a little bit about X Definitive Edition, Switch 2 Edition as well. Thank you so much for engaging with my content. Make sure you have yourself a phenomenal day. This has been Ray's Nintendo Talk. I have been Ray, and I will see you all in the next video.